This week on The Modified World, I talk about stabbing some wieners, so stay tuned. So welcome to The Modified World, the weekly web show about body modification, the people who do it, the people who get it, and of course, why it matters. I'm your host. I'm the senior piercer at the world-renowned Pangea Piercing, and the purveyor of the internet wackiness that you guys have been trained to tune into every week. That's right, I'm JC Potts, and this week I'm going to be telling you all a little bit about the Apadravya piercing. The Apadravya piercing is ancient piercing, mentioned in the Kama Sutra, the archaic Indian text about human sexuality. I've gotten mixed signals on them. I've had some people tell me that, boy, it's almost too much stimulation for them to bear. But I have a feeling, though, that the person who had that piercing might have had a little bit larger jewelry than your average person. Generally, I hear them being pretty well received, and I know a lot of gentlemen that have had them, and unfortunately, due to like military service or being at the Queen's leisure, had to remove them and even go about getting them again after they are out of state's custody. But this is an amazing thing because generally the Apadravya and Ampoulet are about the most painful piercings a fella can get. So for somebody to be willing to do it multiple times says a lot. Says that it must be pretty awesome to have, else you wouldn't go through the time and trouble. They do take a little while longer to heal than, say, Prince Albert or a vertical clit hood. Why? Because it's a substantial amount of tissue. That's as simple as I can make it. It's just a lot of meat to go through. Figure 3 to 6 months on healing time on most of them. Could be longer, could be shorter. Pretty easy to take care of them too. I find that most guys wash their genitals on a pretty frequent basis. Turns out there's a built-in incentive to do it because it kind of actually feels good, I've heard. Usually mild soap and water and getting rid of any of the crusties on the jewelry usually take good care of you. As far as placement on that guy goes, it's pretty simple. You want to go vertically through the head, as vertically as possible too. Try not to have it cocked off at an angle. No pun intended. Of course, sometimes, very much like piercing a tongue, you do have to kind of avoid some connective tissue. You'll notice on some fellas, they'll have a little bit of a frenulum line on the bottom of their glands. And of course, if they have that, you do not want to pierce through that. You kind of want to go to the one side or the other. Your body will try to force it to one side or the other anyway. And so you might as well just drop it that way from the get-go. But it should never be off-centered or dramatically angled. Just enough to miss. Jewelry, of course, should be a internally threaded, implant-grade, hand-finished, shiny barbell. Something with, not too small ends on there because like the ends embedding could be disastrous. Now, the only way to properly, accurately measure for jewelry is, of course, to be fully engorged. And, for me, it's a little awkward. I personally don't want to have some guy having to, get himself hard for me to take a measurement. So I've learned how to estimate pretty closely. And then I'll usually give them a little bit longer of a bar than what I think. If it looks to be like you need an inch, I'll give them 1.25 inches and then have them come back and get a properly fitting barbell. If you give somebody 1.25 inches bar and they've got a 1/4 inch of bar hanging out, turns out you need 1-inch bar. That's pretty simple. So I do it like that. I think it's a lot more comfortable for people in the long run. Had a nice fella willing to let me film his experience. Since he has a family, though, and a professional career, he asked me not to show his face. I'll happily oblige. Besides, nobody really cares to see the gentleman's face anyway. It's more about what we've actually got going on here. Looks like I've got just about everything set up that we're going to need. So I'm going to go ahead and we'll lay one of these guys out. And at this point, I am going to have to get you to give me the full Monty, unfortunately. Now that we got that guy cleaned up, next step, marks. You'll also notice too that about half the guys you're going to run into have like a frenulum, like an oral frenulum, only right there where it would be coming out. Luckily, well, this guy's got one and it curves a little bit off to the side. So what I'm going to do is, I don't want to go through that. I want to kind of just skim off to the side on it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drop mark, bam, like right here. And as far as the top goes, you pretty much want to, of course, have it pretty much straight up and down, maybe slightly angled back a little bit. Very much like in a lot of piercings too, you might have to play with your marks to get them to line up really well. Alright, so, bam, mark, mark.
Much better.
Spread the skin out so you get a good, accurate mark. Lube too, important. So, just getting lined up real quick, but I'm not doing anything just yet. Remember, you're in total control. We look good though, so whenever you're ready, you're gonna get a deep breath in and out. There you go. Done. Alright, we get that saline on there, cool that off. It's some fire. Damn, dude. Alright, I'm just gonna go transfer this, but nothing terribly painful. It'll feel a little weird, a little slidey. There we go. There it goes. Screw the ball on the end. There we go. Alright, man. Woo! Boy, holy shit, welcome to the big boy club. Holy crap. You wanna take a look? Yeah. Damn. Check it out. Damn. That's right. Take that. Woo! And that was my show this week. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you learned something, moderately entertained. Hit me up on the various social media networks and stop back by next week for yet another episode of The Modified World.